Karate friends, welcome to Classics in Color, your weekly dive into some of the ancient world's wackiest facts. I'm Marc Graves, and today I'm going to be talking about bullying in the ancient world, so let's check it out. So this video is mostly based off an article by Christian Lays, I think is how you pronounce that name, and it is Children and Bullying/Harassment in Greco-Roman Antiquity. So that's basically what we're going off of here. And Christian, first off, he starts with that there's not a whole lot on bullying as far as ancient primary sources go. And he thinks that this is because the ancient world is pretty brutal place. There's enough going on that no one is really writing about the time that, Billy gave Charlie a wedgie and called him a fart face, That's just low down on the list of priorities of things to write about. So there's not a whole lot to go off of, but we do have some things. And there are two main sort of categories. And the first is historians would go back and write biographies of kings and important leaders, and lots of times they would sort of retroactively insert stories about their childhood to show, what a horrible leader or what a great leader they were going to become based on, what was happening in their childhood. So the first one of these comes from Herodotus, and I will summarize a little bit and quote a little bit. It's kind of a long passage. So the story basically is that Cyrus is a child and he doesn't know who his father is. He's just been raised by cowherds, and he's playing this game with these other kids where they play king. Basically, they're role playing who's gonna be king, and the other kids pick Cyrus, and so he pretends to be king and he's bossing everybody around. You go collect rocks, you go get us cookies or whatever. And this one kid who happens to be from a noble family, he's sort of higher ranked than all the other kids, won't do what Cyrus is telling him to do. He resists. So I'll start quoting for you. Now, one of these boys who played with him was son to Artabares, a notable Median. As he did not obey the command Cyrus gave him, Cyrus bade the other boys seize him, and when they did so, he dealt very roughly with the boy and scourged him. So all these kids basically gang up on this one kid and beat the crap out of him for not playing the game. So not very nice. And the kid, as soon as he gets loosed, he goes to his dad, who's an important person, and he complains. So his dad hauls this kid in front of the king at the time and is basically making this complaint, and the king is questioning Cyrus, like, what is going on here? Why did you do this stupid thing? And Cyrus gives a really ballsy answer, and he says, what I did to him, I did with justice. The boys of the village of whom he was one chose me in their play to be their king, for they thought me the fittest to rule. The other boys then did as I bid him, but this one was disobedient and cared nothing for me till he got his deserts. So now, if I deserve punishment for this, here I am to take it. So he basically says that he was in the right, but if he has to be punished, then, he's not going to be a baby about it. He'll take what he deserves. So that's a really neat story that Herodotus gives us. Then we have another story about Nero, everybody's favorite worst emperor, right? Everybody loves to hate on Nero. And we have a story about when he was a kid. Again, a bunch of kids were playing king, and he got to be king. And he made his, I believe, stepbrother, Britannicus, he told him to get up in front of all these people and basically sing a song. And he knew Britannicus was super shy and that he would be very freaked out by this. But Britannicus basically gets up and he sings a song about all the horrible things that Nero has done to him. So everybody basically pities Britannicus, and it sort of backfires on Nero, which is classic Nero, right? So thank you to Tacitus for that story. And then I have one about Cato from Plutarch. So I'm just going to quote you that one because it's a bit shorter. At another time, a relation of his who was celebrating a birthday invited Cato and other boys to supper, and the company were diverting themselves at play in a separate part of the house, older and younger together, their play being actions at law, accusations, and the conducting of the condemned persons to prison. Accordingly, one of those thus condemned, a boy of comely looks, was led off by an older boy and shut into a chamber, where he called upon Cato for help. Then Cato, when he understood what was going on, quickly came to the door, pushed aside the boys who stood before it, and tried to stop him, led forth the prisoner, and went off home with him in a passion, followed by other boys also. So the implication of this story is that one of the cuter boys, who was younger, was sort of led off alone by one of the older boys, and the older boy was trying to sexually harass him or assault him, basically. And Cato is very angry about this. He catches on to what's going on, and he saves the younger kid. And this is supposed to indicate that Cato's going to go on to become a very moral person who defends people, who sticks up for other people. So again, just sort of giving us a little hint on what Cato's going to end up being. So it's really cute, actually, to see baby Cato. Then we do have a few stories about games that just normal kids would play, and they're surprisingly violent, or maybe not surprisingly, maybe right on character. So we have a quote from a fellow named Bion, I guess, who remarked that boys throw stones at frogs for fun, but the frogs don't die for fun. So basically pointing out that kids can be very cruel and apparently like throwing rocks at animals. Then we have what's called the Kitrinda game, which basically means the cooking pot. So you have a bunch of kids who stand in a circle and then one kid in the middle of the circle. And the kids on the outer ring can do whatever they want to the kid in the middle. They can hit him, they can pull his hair, they can torment him. And the kid in the middle is trying to grab onto one of the kids on the outer ring. So if he grabs onto someone, then they have to go in the middle and he gets out. So again, very brutal game there. And then we also have what's sort of like an ancient version of Marco Polo, I guess, but a little more violent. So you have one kid who has to wear a blindfold, and he wanders around and he says, "I chase a fly," and everybody else has to say, "You chase a fly, but you can't catch it." And they can hit him with things while he's wandering around, of course, and then he's trying to catch one of them. And apparently there was also a female version of this that we don't have as many details on, but it was called the Game of the Turtle. So there you go, some great and horrible games that children played in ancient Greece and Rome. Thank you so much for checking out this video on ancient bullies. I hope that you do not relate, and I hope to see you all again next week. Thank you so much to subscribers and to patrons. Karate!